Welcome to Papa's Workshop. You know, today is going to be the last upgrade that I'm really doing to my CNC machine. It's time to start doing some projects. But today I wanted to take my controller from up on top and move it down below. And I want to show you how I did that today because it really cleaned up the tabletop and made for virtually a dust-free environment for my controller. So let's get started. One of the things that I have decided to do is take this controller and relocate it. And I want to relocate it underneath into this area. And that will make it where it's virtually dust-free to be able to make the little stand to be able to support the controller. I just grabbed some 3/4 inch MDF and I sketched out just a little opening here so there'll be plenty of airflow. Now I'm going to make 2 of these, and I'll cut these out on the bandsaw. And then I'll go ahead and I have the 3rd one for the foot of it. So I'm going to just go ahead and assemble that real quick, and I'm going to show you how we're going to attach it. I just completed cutting these out on the bandsaw, and I'm bringing it over to the oscillating sander now just to be able to clean up the edges and sand right up to my line. With the first one completed, I'm going to bring it back over to the second piece of the MDF, and I can use this as a template and draw out the pattern for the second piece. To me, this is the easiest way to be able to do it. Now it's back to the bandsaw. With the bandsaw done on the second one, back to oscillating sander for a quick sanding. In designing this project, I thought about probably a dozen different ways to be able to attach this project to the underneath of the table. In the end, I decided just to go with the pocket hole system. It seemed to be the simplest way to be able to attach it. The pocket hole system is a very easy to use and very effective way to be able to attach this project to underneath of the table. Now this material is 3/4 inch thick. So what I'm going to need is the 1¼ inch screws to be able to attach this to underneath the table. The design is actually very simple. I have the base piece and then I have the 2 sides. And I'm going to glue and staple the 2 sides together. And then with the pocket hole system, just screw that right up underneath the tabletop. I brought the base over to the controller itself, and I wanted to be able to center it on this board. Now it had little feet that came with the controller, and I'm going to mark exactly where those are going to need to be, and I'll screw those in position. That way, when everything is finished, I'll be able to drop the controller right into those little feet, and that'll help hold it in place and prevent it from moving around. Should anything happen, it will not slide. I'm using a very small screw to be able to hold it in place. Now one of the things that you're going to find with the MDF, as you drill the screw in, it has a tendency of raising the surface of that MDF. Well, to cure that, the old chisel just knocks that right off and it's back flush again. And then I can screw the little foot in place and not have any problem at all. Next, I'm going to glue and staple the sides into position. With the last staple going in, all I need to do now is just wipe off the excess glue, and this portion of the project is completed. Next, I'm going to go ahead and install it in place, and we'll slide the controller into position as well. I think this design is very simple, and it's going to allow for plenty of airflow around the controller. Now to be able to do this, I went ahead and measured and located exactly where I wanted to be able to put this. And I went ahead and marked one line to be able to give me the center point that I wanted to be able to place this. There was no need to have the second line because it was just going to fall into position no matter what. So with the screws in place, I went ahead and just screwed them in and tightened it down. Next, I decided where I wanted the hole to be drilled into the tabletop to be able to run the wires down to the controller itself. And I'm using a hole saw to be able to do this. Here's a look at the tabletop now with the controller underneath. I think this is a much cleaner setup. The wires run right through the hole down to the controller, and the controller sits very neatly into this project, and it works perfectly. Now, it was a little bit more of a challenge to be able to put together than I expected because I did have to take the wires out of the controller completely and position the controller in place and then put the wires back. All in all, though, I think it was well worth it. Now, I have the router temporarily just plugged in with this little power strip. And I want to be able to make a small extension cord to be able to connect from my little control box over to the router. That will eliminate this power strip, and that will eliminate the possibility of this tripping and causing a problem when I'm doing a project. Now, this is the leftover extension cord that I had from making my control box. I'm going to make this about 3 feet long. Doesn't have to be exact. So right along in here is where I'm going to make it. And then this is going to be the leftover part, and I'm going to put 2 ends on this and make a short extension cord so that this does not go to waste. But for now, I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to work just with this part. Now, I already have the female end, and this is from the manufacturer. This is how the cord came. And what I need to do is take this end of the cord and add the male. Now, that will slip right in, but we need to attach everything inside. And to do that, we're just going to open up this screw right here and get inside of this plug. So this is actually very simple. That's going to slide through. And then this will just need to be stripped back far enough to be able to hook these wires into here. Now, what I want to do is get these wires arranged in the right direction, and then this will slip right up into this area here. And then the wire will actually wrap around this screw. You might need a little help, a little persuasion to get it to go through. With all the wires connected now, I'm just going to slip this back over it and put the screw in it, and that will complete it. And then we'll just test it out and we'll be ready to go. My new extension cord is in place. I have it plugged into the back of my control box, and that runs over to the connection for the router itself. Now, one of the things that I did is I took some electrical tape and wrapped around this connection so that it would not have a chance on coming loose. So here's the final setup, and I think it looks a whole lot cleaner than what it was before. And most importantly, I think it's important to be able to have the controller under the table to be able to eliminate as much dust as possible. The next thing I wanted to do is just test it out and make sure that everything was still moving in the correct direction. And as you can see there, it is. Now I also connected all of the buttons, so I have the pause, resume, and the abort buttons all connected into the controller, as well as the probe. And one of the things I want to do is test those out. The easiest thing that I can show on the video is how the probe works. So I'm going to take the clip and attach it to the router, and then I can just simply plug in my connections to the probe outlet on my control box, and then I can run the sequence to be able to use my 3-axis touch plate and make sure that it's working correctly. So I've started the process using my universal G-code sender, and I'm using the macro that I had written and I showed you from the previous menu, and you can see that it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. I love it when the plan comes together like this and everything works. It makes it so much easier than having to go back and troubleshoot. Now on the side note, having said that, when I plugged in everything on my wall outlet, I realized that my wall outlet was worn out and needed to be replaced. So I had to do that. But other than that, everything else worked perfectly. So there you have it. My touch plate is working, everything is working flawlessly. I think it's real important to do this test and make sure that everything worked correctly, since I had to take the controller apart and move all the wires and put them back into position. I think this is the last upgrade that I'm going to do for a while on my CNC. It's time to start making some projects. The biggest challenge now is to decide what project that I want to do first. So if you have some suggestions, leave a comment below and give me your ideas and suggestions for what project that you would like to see me do first. Hi everyone, thank you for watching my video today. If you like the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and the little bell next to it so you'll be notified on the different videos that I upload. Also check out the videos over here to be able to stay up to date on the happenings in my shop. So again, thank you for watching my videos.